Welcome to the California Department of Education Integrated and Designated English Language Development Transitional Kindergarten through Grade 12 video series. Mathematics with Integrated English Language Development in Grades 9 and 10. In this unit, the students have been analyzing graphs of quadratic functions and determining how they are used to model and solve situations involving maximizing profits and area to projectile motion. In this lesson, the students will rewrite a quadratic function in vertex form to find the highest point of the graph without having to actually graph the function. At the end of the lesson, each student will contribute to a group discussion to explain the steps of completing the square, describe their new formula, and justify why their formula works. The California Common Core State Standards for Mathematics driving the lesson. The mathematics standard is Higher Mathematics Standards, Functions, Interpreting Functions, Standard 8A. Analyze functions using different representations, where students write a function defined by an expression in different but equivalent forms to reveal and explain different properties of the function. Students use the process of factoring and completing the square in a quadratic function to show the zeros, extreme values, and symmetry of the graph, and interpret these in terms of a context. Watch for how this California standard is addressed throughout the lesson. The supporting California English Language Development Standards used in tandem with the mathematics standards. The English Language Development Standards at the bridging level are Grades 9 and 10, Part 1, Standard 1, Exchanging Information and Ideas, where students contribute to class, group, and partner discussions, sustaining conversations on a variety of age and grade-appropriate academic topics by following turn-taking rules and asking and answering relevant, on-topic questions, affirming others, and providing coherent and well-articulated comments and additional information. And Grades 9 and 10, Part 2, Standard 3, using verbs and verb phrases, where students use a variety of verbs in different tenses and mood appropriate to the text type and discipline to create a variety of texts that describe concrete and abstract ideas, explain procedures and sequences, summarize text and ideas, and present and critique points of view. Watch how students move from early levels of proficiency toward the bridging levels of these English language development standards throughout the lesson. Watch how the teacher leads the students toward accurate expression of their math content knowledge by providing opportunities for them to listen to the language, speak with their peers in triads with assigned roles using learned language structures and vocabulary, read and analyze academic text, then write a mathematical explanation using the appropriate structure and language features to explain the mathematical concepts learned.
So again, just to repeat, our learning objective is going to be able to explain the process of completing the square and try to find an efficient way of doing it using math. Okay?
Así, y 1 por 24 es 24, obviamente.
Okay, so all the way around the edge.
¿Sabes cómo hacer los, verdad?
Did you notice that? Okay, yeah. Draw them the same way. Also,
Lo que yo hago es como quitar estos dos X. ¿Sabes cómo es esto?
find the area.
Creo que sí. ¿Sabes cómo? 6 más 6. No sé. Bueno, mira. Como ves que aquí hay un 2X, entonces necesitamos 2X para hacer esto. Entonces necesitamos un número que se multiplique por 36, pero cuando se sume de 12. ¿Entiendes? Entonces que algo que sume por 36 y que cuando se sume nos dé 12. Como que número se multiplique que nos da 36 y que cuando se sumen los dos números nos da 12. ¿Okay?
Número que 36 sería.
Lo que yo hago, mira,
No. 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 18.
hay que buscar primero los múltiplos del 36. O sea, primero yo lo hago dividido por 2. Y como el 2 no funciona porque es un nos va a salir como un número decimal. Entonces yo utilizo el 3, el 4, el 5, el 6. Entonces yo lo que hice aquí, utilicé el 6. 6 por 6 son 36. Pero cuando lo sumas son 12. O sea, mira, pones aquí el 6 y el 6. Y ahora necesitamos ver si son todos positivos. Como aquí todos son positivos, todos estos dos van a estar así, positivos. Después se van a multiplicar. Estos 6 por 6 son 36, como dijimos. 6 por x son 6x. X por 6 son 6x. Y x por x son x a la segunda. Entonces todo lo sumas y nos va a dar el mismo resultado. ¿Para qué vos?
Es un científico.
Esto quisiera. 2 menos 10x. Trata de hacer la segunda.
You guys are doing great. I love how you're helping each other. All right, class, you guys did a great job. So come on back to me. So let's share some of our answers. I'm just going to call on a few of you if you don't mind. So looking at number 1, we have a rectangle here with an area of 24. Dylan, what did you put for possible side lengths?
6 and 4.
Okay, so we could have one side that's 6 and another side that's 4. How did you know that these would work?
So multiply them and like this.
Okay, good. So they're going to multiply and they're going to give you that area, okay? As we know, the length times the width is going to give us our area. Okay? Now, before you start choosing roles, I just want to go over these right here. Now it says, please keep these goals in mind while working with your group. You want to explore different ways to think about a pattern. You can use drawings, diagrams, charts, whatever you want. Discuss your actions with your teammates. So as you're going through the exercise, you want to talk and share your thinking. You also want to try to understand what the other teammate is thinking as well. So if they're doing something that you're not sure of, ask them a question. Could you explain this for us a little bit better? Make sure you're sharing all of your ideas and steps. Use mathematical language to discuss your process. So that's kind of using algebra to try to discuss it. And that's going to be towards the end. We're going to try to put an equation or a formula to the process. So we have a few different roles. Currently we are in groups of 3, which is perfect. So the timekeeper, you can just knock that out. Don't worry about that. We're going to have a facilitator, a scribe, and a speaker. So this just gives you kind of an outline of what's expected of you. I'm going to pass out this sheet as well, and this kind of gives you an idea of how you should communicate in that role. So questions that you could ask your team depending on the role you have chosen. So the facilitator encourages group to understand each other's way of thinking, make sure everyone is on task and doing their best, and takes on roles that are unfilled. So you're going to kind of watch the time and make sure we're up to date with everything. The scribe does all the writing on the assignment, and you have to use everybody's input. Okay? So you want to be the final say on how we want to word our answers. And then the speaker is going to share what the group is thinking if called on. Okay? And also the speaker is the only one who can ask me a question. So if someone in your group has a question, you need to pass it along to the speaker, and the speaker can ask me the question and call me over. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you about a minute. So go ahead and choose your role and write your name down next to it. So think about your roles. Think about the sentence starters here, especially the facilitator. So the facilitator can kind of start the discussion and ask each member what they think here. My question is, just kind of loosely answer the question, is there a specific way that you have to split the x's? Okay, so why don't you guys go ahead. I want the facilitator to make sure that both of the other two answer that question. So just take a moment to air that out and make sure we say it out loud.
No, actually, you just have to count this and this, and you just multiply by itself.
Say 10, 25.
Okay, so what I did, look, there's 5 over here, right? There's 5 over here. So the best way is just multiply it, and this is gonna be the same. So you multiply this, 4 times 4 is gonna be 16, 5 times 5 is gonna be 25. So it's more easier.
So what we're going to be doing on the next activity is very similar, okay? But we're going to be using the box method to try to help us figure out the bottom. And again, keep in mind we want to try to make a formula. Maybe some of us already, I heard some people saying that, oh, I think I have it already. That's great. Let's work towards that and share with our the people at our table and try to make sure that we all can understand what you're beginning to see. Okay, so here comes the next one. Now, the first couple questions on here, you need to answer with a complete sentence. So I want to make sure we're discussing together and kind of putting the same or similar answer here. And again, keep in mind your roles and the sentence starters for your conversations. So B for number 1 here asks us, what are the dimensions of the square formed by the 1 tiles? So we had talked about what the dimensions or side lengths are for the whole square, the big square. But if you notice, we also have a square down here with our constant term, right? This makes a square as well. So I'm asking you, what are the dimensions? So what are the side lengths here? Okay, and the side lengths here, and try to see if there's a relationship between all of them that you've built. Okay, and see if we can put that into words. Does that help a bit? It could get a bit messy, folks, but that's okay. So let's just try to apply the same ideas that we've noticed, the same pattern that you've noticed, and try to apply it when you get to the back side.
It wouldn't work.
I don't understand this.
Why don't you understand?
I've never really used the box method, so I don't.
Well, let's try it at your work. How do you do it?
Okay, I'm just guessing.
You have to. Remember,
What I show you is will be like x plus 1 and x plus 1, but then wouldn't give you x. Look, try it out. It wouldn't work. So we need. So what I was thinking was putting negative numbers, you know, negative numbers. Podemos poner como negativos números acá, porque no se pueden dividir en 2. Porque si lo dividimos en 2 saldría como 1.5x. Entonces necesitamos ya un número negativo.
Podemos usar decimales. ¿Decimales? No, creo que podemos. Sí, dijo el maestro.
Ahora solo ponle un punto en medio y es 3.5. It's saying like, how do we use B to find C? How do we use B? We divide it first, right? 2. With 2. We divide it and then what?
Multiply by 2.
We go ¿Qué hicimos aquí con el 7?
Lo dividimos en 2.
¿Y cómo sacamos el... ¿Qué hicimos con el 3.5?
Estamos por 2.
Por 2.
Digo,
I
lo
think some of us are just about getting there.
No, lo multiplicamos por el mismo.
About 5 more minutes on this, and then we'll bring it back.
Ahora ponlo acá,
Discuss
en
what we
inglés.
found. So if we're still stuck on C, let me know. Walking around.
Acá es como we divide. We divide. We by 2.
So is that going to be
Dice que se va a hacer aquí.
Facilitator, what do you think the goal is?
Well, basically, in our when he was writing on the whiteboard, we're trying to find the ones.
That's why. We'll do what with the ones?
Find how many there are to put in the formula.
Okay, so
That will fit in.
yeah, how many ones do we need to make it a perfect square?
Oh, I guess
Yeah,
we're trying to find the factored form.
See how many ones we need to make it a perfect square and turn it into a factored form. Okay, we happy?
See how many I needed to be able to make the perfect square, period. There.
We gotta find a reason for dividing it. Oh, because you have to put the x's on the side of the x squared, parallel.
It's an end product. Why do you divide the linear coefficient the way you do? The linear coefficient is that, so why do we divide it the way we do? Because we're trying to make a perfect square.
Yeah, no, but that's our final solution. Giving a final solution doesn't mean why we divide it.
No, for B it says why did you divide the linear coefficient the way you do?
I know,
Because we need to make a perfect square.
our formula was x divided by 2 squared.
Yeah.
They're asking why we divide it. Like, what happens to when we get it?
Where do you see that at? Where do you see that? Where do you see that question? Read that question for me.
Why
Read that question.
do you
Read
divide the linear coefficient this way?
So where you getting this formula stuff from?
Because it's asking what
It
you do.
didn't say anything about the formula. It didn't say anything about the formula. It's just asking why do we split the one? Why do you split the x's in half?
Yeah, why?
Yeah. Because we need to make a perfect square. If there were 8 and we did 3 and 5, it wouldn't be a perfect square. It'd be a rectangle, which would ruin the whole project pretty much. But if we split them in half, you get a perfect square.
I know, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's asking
No.
why we divide it.
Yeah. We get a
I'm
perfect
just going to
square.
stop you folks in 1 minute. In 1 minute.
Wait, we divided the coefficient.
We're not talking about the coefficient. Oh, linear coefficient. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is the x's.
Okay, alright. Dude, I was so tricked out.
So I'm just gonna hop around and see some of our findings from this activity. Okay, we're gonna start with this group over here. So the question was, what was the goal, okay, or the end product? What were we trying to do? And I need to hear from the speaker, right? What was the end goal for us when we were trying to complete the squares, the process?
We were trying to get like the area of the square.
Okay, the area of what?
The square.
Good. So our goal here is we want to find. Say it again.
The area.
Okay. Good. So we want to find an area of the square, and specifically when we're completing it, remember the one thing that's missing is this c value. So specifically, we're looking for this missing piece of the square. But in order to figure out that number, we want to make sure that the end result is going to be a complete square. So good, perfect. Okay, now question number 2. Thank you. Why do you divide the linear coefficient the way you do? Okay, what's the purpose of that? We're going to go to this group right here. Jose is going to share for us.
To divide the coefficient to 2 in order to distribute equally.
Wow. So did anyone else talk about dividing it by 2? If you guys want to just show your hands real quick. Okay, good. So those of us that got to it. And we had mentioned that a little bit earlier. So that's beautifully said. We're going to divide it by 2. To keep it, say it again. to keep it equal on both sides. Remember, we're making a square here. We want to make sure that it's equal on both sides. Question C then, how do you find the constant term? How do we then find the constant term? And Quadier looks eager and gets something that we can do. Go ahead, Quadier.
Okay, so you divide the x term in half and multiply by itself, or you square it.
Ooh. So you divide the x by 2,
Yeah.
and then you square it.
Yeah.
Okay? So I think I want to go with this group here, Talia's group.
1/2 b squared.
So our c, or our constant term, could equal,
Parentheses 1/2 b.
so if you take 1/2 of b, and remember we're talking about b is going to be our linear coefficient here. Okay, 1/2 b, and then what?
Square it on the
And
outside.
square it. Okay, we're just going to wrap this up, okay, because time snuck up on us. That struggle you guys had was so beautiful to me. I loved it, okay? I love when you struggle, because that's when learning is happening, okay? It's not because I don't want you guys to be happy.
Oh, yeah.
But the end goal, when we finally figure this out on our own, it is so special. It is so much better that way than me just up here telling you.
Reflection and discussion. Reflect on the following questions. First, how did you observe the following focal content standards and supporting English language development standards being implemented in this grade 9 and 10 integrated English language development lesson? Interpreting functions, Standard 8A. English language development, Part 1, Standard 1. Exchanging information and ideas. And Part 2, Standard 3. Using verbs and verb phrases. Second, what features of integrated English language development did you observe in the lesson? Now pause the video and engage in a discussion with colleagues. The California Department of Education would like to thank the administrators, teachers, and students who participated in the making of this video. This video was made possible by the California Department of Education in collaboration with WestEd and Timbre Films.